Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Yeah, I get into kind of a trance when I'm playing Cartographers. Why? Well, I mean, it's a really good game, but it's more than that. I've never played a game that quite so uniquely tied together the strategic and creative sides of my brain into such a unique little bow. Don't know what I'm talking about? Come on, here, I'll show you. Cartographers is a roll and write without the roll, meaning that each turn a card is flipped and all players take their sheet of paper and react to it. In this case, you're making fantasy maps, you know, the kind that adorned almost every book I read between ages 7 to, well, now. Over the course of the game, you'll fill your sheet with the 5 different terrain types in order to acquire points awarded at the end of each of the 4 rounds. When a card is flipped, you make the shape shown on the card using blank spaces on your map, filling it in with one of the card's depicted terrains. These can be flipped and rotated and do not have to overlap, but the biggest impact on how you choose to map your terrain are the objectives. The objectives are varied and come in random order, but will always be 4, one each of the 4 different categories, meaning there is a lot of variation from game to game. First round, you'll score objectives A and B, then round 2, B and C, followed by C and D, and finally D and A again, meaning that you'll make critical decisions about capitalizing on immediate objectives while still accounting for what will come up down the road. Finally, at the end of 4 rounds, the player with the most points wins. So it sounds pretty solid, right? Well, what actually makes this game magical is the ownership with which you take your piece of paper. I mean, the story itself is fine. You're all cartographers and you're tasked by the queen in order to map gooder than everyone else, and even if your maps look all... You know what? Forget the story. It's the actual theme that ties it all together. When you get this paper, you name yourself, bestow a title, proclaim a kingdom, craft a heraldry, then start the game. I mean, sure, yeah, this has nothing to do with the mechanics of the game, but I'm going somewhere with this, so hear me out. Then you begin carefully crafting your kingdom, yes, to gain points, but the fact that you're drawing it yourself makes all the difference. I've seen players invest themselves so deeply in making the right abstract representations of terrain, adding little flourishes, or even using colored pencil for a splash of pizzazz. When drawing your map, whether you go completely abstract or highly detailed, there's a powerful sense of craftsmanship to this game. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I kind of want to take this map and put it on my dad's refrigerator. But there's more to the game too. One of the most clever things is that every round a monster ambush is added to the deck, potentially rearing its ugly head. When one of these bad nanners comes up, you temporarily shift your map to another player, then they add the monsters as little obstructions to your plans, who also cost you points each round for any vacant spaces surrounding them. There's also a system for getting coins for some smaller shapes or surrounding mountains, which give you additional points every round, and ruins cards, which force you to place the next revealed shape on top of a ruins tile, adding a little creative problem solving to your plans. Overall, the system is beautifully put together and it feels so meditative to play. The tempo of the game as you reveal cards then add to your map is rhythmic and entrancing, but the monsters add a nice little bit of player interaction that drives diverging paths for each player. If anything though, that's my one complaint about the game. Aside from the potential for 4 monsters to come out throughout the game, there's nothing that inherently dictates players build their kingdoms a little bit different. A secret objective, some player requirement, a one-time power, something to make you think about your map differently than other players would have been incredibly welcome, adding a unique challenge, a little secrecy, and ultimately another layer of replayability. But it's not because this game is bad without it, it's because this is a game I really like and think it'd be even better with it. So Cartographers is a super small package that feels really well put together. It's smart, it's challenging, and it taps into the critical thinking and creative side of your brain at the same time. It also plays really well solo, requiring only a couple adjustments to scoring, and it has a really creative way of handling monsters. Otherwise, it remains just as compelling as the multiplayer experience. So as a big fan of great games, unique experiences, and yeah, fantasy maps, this is probably my favorite roll and write, or flip and write game to date. And that's our review. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Jack for the Cardboard Herald. If you enjoyed this video, we have all kinds of other reviews, interviews, and recommendations via writing, podcasts, and video here on our channel and website cardboardherald.com. Our content is audience supported, so if you want to show your support, please visit our Patreon. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Cardboard Herald.